Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Amazing Podcast. I'm Twain Taylor, editor at Amazing, and we bring you some of the newest ideas in the space of cloud computing, cloud native computing, Kubernetes, DevOps, and all of these good things. So, if that's what your business works on and really cares about, then you want to tune into our podcast, which we publish episodes almost every week. So, do subscribe and stay tuned to what we talk about. Today, I have with me Abhishek Kondur, who is the CTO at Netmaker, and they're into security, but a specific kind of security in the cloud, which we'll get into in just a bit. Abhishek, it's great to have you with us. Thanks for joining. Really looking forward to the conversation.
Hey, hi, Twain. Happy to be here. Thanks for the invite.
All right. Abhishek, curious to know about you a little bit. Could you tell us a bit about yourself, your background, what you've done thus far, and your journey to Netmaker?
Yeah, sure. So I started my journey with Cloud Native.
Mm-hmm.
So, like in my first company, when I joined, we're building a product in the Cloud Native space. That was pretty exciting for me, the whole space, right? The whole Kubernetes, what it enables to do at scale was fascinating. Then I joined Netmaker in 2022 as a developer. Then I stepped up to being a CTO, still
Mm-hmm.
transitioning into from a tech to business role, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's been pretty good so far.
All right.
And so Netmaker itself started back in 2021, and
Okay.
we are a WireGuard management platform. So WireGuard is a
Mm-hmm.
VPN protocol. It's an open source VPN protocol, and
Mm-hmm.
so we built. So our Netmaker basically is like a management layer on top of WireGuard. It lets you scale your network and a number of
Mm-hmm.
devices, right? Thousands of devices. Yeah,
Okay. All right. All right. Interesting. So WireGuard, the most interesting thing that you mentioned there, a really popular open source project, I assume. Tell us a bit about it, what it does, what do people use it for?
right. So I mean, we do have these legacy VPN protocols, right? Like IPsec or OpenVPN. I mean, in general, around the term VPN itself, there's a lot of stigma, right? They're slow, hard to configure, hard to use, right? But kind of when WireGuard came into the picture, a lot of this went away. Like it started back in 2015. It's an open source. It's lightweight, and if you see the project itself, right, just 4,000 lines of code. So it's easy to like anyone can just jump in and do any security audits, right? So it's pretty transparent. So that way, yeah, it also it's I think the main advantage is the latency itself is very low. It's the performance is high. They use efficient encryption algorithms like Cha-Cha and Poly algorithms. Yeah, so that way it kind of complements a lot of things in VPN space.
Mm. All right. All right. Cool. Um, and tell us more about VPN itself, more the use case, about why do businesses need to use a VPN? What are the use cases and some of the complications that come up in the process? Talk a bit about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, when you generally speak about the term VPN, most people, what do they associate is, okay, I want to encrypt my internet access, right? Maybe they want
Mm,
to access some resources, they need to encrypt their internet. That's the most commonly or thought people have. But when it comes
yeah.
to businesses, it's more about remote access. Now we say you
Mm,
have your resources in your office environment and need your employees to access those over private connection. That's what like
mm-hmm,
businesses use it for.
mm-hmm,
And yeah, it's more like having a it's more about having a private connection over the public internet, right? Like
mm,
so also there I think in the last 10 years there's also a framework that's coming up called zero trust.
mm-hmm,
So and often people say it's zero trust versus VPN, but I mean, I believe that's not the case. They still coexist together, but Zero
Mm-hmm.
trust itself is more like a framework. So it's like a model, like a security framework that businesses like need to follow to ensure that the security is at every point in their organization. So nothing
Mm-hmm.
is everything is protected in
Okay.
in reality, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but often people think that VPN is legacy now, and next is zero trust. Yeah, so when you talk in terms of WireGuard itself, a lot of things
Mm-hmm.
that VPN lacks, it kind of complements it.
Oh, okay.
So it does fit into the zero trust framework. Now, say you need to, you still need to like encrypt your data, right? Say from side to side. Still, you need to use
Mm-hmm.
something to encrypt your data layer. That's
Mm-hmm.
where VPN itself comes in. And there's larger picture where you need to have authentication at the device level, like give access to an user, right, who's coming into the network.
Mm-hmm.
So all that. So yeah, in general, with respect to businesses, right? I mean, they have different patterns of implementing the network infrastructure. Some might need just remote access. Some might
Mm-hmm.
need to implement like site-to-site um, connections, right? So yeah, for all these use cases, they need some secure tunnel between these points to protect. That's the main
Mm-hmm.
reason they need VPN.
Okay, okay. Interesting. Two things that come to my mind. One is I'm wondering if you could give us a more specific, real world example of a company and it's maybe one of your clients, how they use VPN within their business. What kind of business processes are these powering? Who are the users actually using it? Who's configuring it, etc. Give us a little bit more real world description of VPN in action in businesses. And secondly, I wanted to ask about, but we'll get to that next, is about just a little more of clearly the differences between VPN versus zero trust, similarities and differences. We'll get to that next. But if you could kind of flesh it out a bit more for us, VPN usage in businesses, give us an example that really makes it very easy to imagine, okay, this is what businesses use this for.
Right. Okay. Now say you have okay. Now say you're a managed service provider, right? You have your devices in your customer environments, and maybe at times you need to access these resources, right, to make sure they're running fine. And so you need a secure connection between your network and these devices. And often at customer networks, they won't like open multiple ports, or it won't be exposed. They don't want it to be exposed to internet. So in that scenario, to make sure you're compliant with their regulations, you this is set up a secure tunnel between your environment and your device in your customer environments, right? Maybe to collect metrics or maybe to troubleshoot it. So that's one of the use cases most of our customers do use, mainly for remote access. And now say you have different sites, right? Maybe you have your company in country A, another company in country B. Now you need to connect these two offices, right? Securely. You what they do is they create an overlay network, and now all of this company just sits on one single network.
What network is that? OL?
Overlay network. It's
Overlay,
a
okay.
virtual network. Yeah. You
All right,
basically
all
create a
right.
VPN network,
Mm-hmm.
virtual private network, right? Now all of
Mm-hmm.
this communication just happen over this VPN network, and it's
Mm-hmm.
secure.
Okay. All right, cool. That's great. So yeah, jumping into what I was asking a bit earlier, which is just crystallize for us the similarities and differences between zero trust and VPN. You already kind of described it, just
Yeah,
trying to make it a little more crisp and
got
uh,
it.
yeah.
Maybe I will maybe take an analogy here, right? Some basic
Mm-hmm.
analogy. Like imagine an old office building. Usually
Mm-hmm.
maybe like 10 or 20 years back, what used to happen is there used to be maybe a security guard at the gate who checks the ID card and lets the employees in. Now, once the employee is in the building, you can basically move freely anywhere he wants, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now let's take an example of modern office building, right? Everybody has their access badges. They need to
Mm-hmm.
swipe their access badge at the gate, and even every floor, right? So
Mm-hmm.
basically, the access card will determine where the person can go to, either a
Mm-hmm.
certain floor or maybe a server room, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so this was
And
this
it
was
tracks, and the system tracks who goes where, so you
yeah,
can always
exactly,
be aware.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right. So exactly, this is what like zero trust is focusing on. It's a basic principle is uh, never trust, always verify, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to put it in this terms. It's more about segmenting trust.
Okay.
So like say in traditional security models, right? Like maybe the whole VPN products, what it is happen is you basically secure the perimeter. So
Yeah.
but say if the perimeter is breached and any person
Mm-hmm.
is inside the network, and they can move freely laterally, right? The whole network will be compromised. Now, what zero trust is enabling you to do is segmenting the parts of your network. Say, even there is a malicious user, is only can you can only move to until a certain point, so that the breach is contained.
Mm-hmm.
But zero trust, it's not like a product or a technology, right? It's more like a framework. You
Mm-hmm.
need to There's certain things you need to follow in the framework that will enable you to implement or follow it. It's like more like you say DevOps. DevOps, it's not like a technology, it's more like a practice, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't like really hire a DevOps person and say we're doing DevOps, right? Everybody needs to follow those principles of DevOps. Similarly, like that's what
Got it. Got
Zero
it.
Trust is.
So how does WireGuard's approach to VPN make it similar to Zero Trust? In what ways does WireGuard improve VPN?
Got it. So see the main advantage of WireGuard, as I said, right? It, increase in performance, low latency,
Mm-hmm.
and also has IP roaming capabilities that any network changes, it will detect your IP automatically. So, and it's very easy to configure, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
2020 is when it was embedded into Linux kernel. So like almost any Linux device we take now, the WireGuard built-in capabilities. So like many people are adopting it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's rather that WireGuard itself will complement zero trust. Like say you put this, like say you're enforcing a zero trust framework, right? You have an authentication at the device level, and you segment users in the network. Now, even doing all of this, you need, say you're doing site to site connectivity, right? You need a secure tunnel between the sites as well. That's where the WAG or any VPN protocol comes in to have this encryption, right? Uh, at the data level, at the transport layer, basically.
Right. We'll get to look into those a bit more as you'll kind of give us a walkthrough or demo in just a bit. But before that, I want to ask about in terms of the admin who's configuring the VPN and managing it on a day-to-day basis, what are some of the challenges they face when handling VPN at scale for lots of users, for more complex scenarios? What are some of those challenges that come up?
Yeah, I mean, as you connect more and more things on the network, right? Basically, your perimeter is increasing, and obviously, say you are scaling across hybrid environments. There is compliance issues, there's vendor lock-in issues, right, between different cloud providers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as you scale up, obviously, you need to have this visibility across network. So when you use zero trust, that's what it enables, right? By default, you don't trust anyone. They ask you to it asks you to verify.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean it kind of makes your life easy, having a zero trust built in. Um, yeah.
Okay, okay. And what about in terms of edge devices that these days are also kind of extended the perimeter beyond the traditional boundaries? Could you talk a bit about those use cases and the challenges they bring in when managing edge devices on VPN?
Yeah, sure. I mean, And right now we see, I mean, last 10 years, right? A lot of things are moving to edge, a lot of edge computing happening, even with respect to AI, a lot of models running at the edge itself, right? All of this
Mhm.
needs to be because they usually operate outside your traditional security model,
Mhm.
and they're outside your perimeter itself, right? And they're also exposed to internet directly. And I also it basically increases your it's more like distributed denial of DDoS attacks right now because you have entities running in different environments and you need to protect all of this. And they're all exposed to any environment you don't know yet. So it kind of becomes important that there's an easy way to encrypt or protect these devices, right? So you need to add maybe an encryption layer at the edge or authentication at the edge, right? So that these are protected.
All right, got it. Yeah, great. So now I'd like to segue to talking about Netmaker and what you guys have built on top of Wireframe and how have you improved Wireframe? Because it's interesting to note that Wireframe improves on traditional
My
VPN.
God.
Sorry, WireGuard, yeah. And you guys have improved on WireGuard itself. Could you talk a bit about that, what you built?
Yeah. Yeah. As I said, Vaga itself is a great VPN protocol. And some of the things that it lacks, like it doesn't include sessions or identities, right? That say you can't really implement identity. It's more of just a basic VPN protocol. You can plug in your config file and create tunnels. But what we have done is built more enhanced features around it. Like
Mm-hmm.
you could easily create your mesh VPN, your OLA networks on site to site or remote access.
Mm-hmm.
Now say you have two peers running in behind my CGNAT, right? Often these two peers or these two devices, they cannot talk to each other directly. So you need
Mm-hmm.
some sort of middleman to enhance their established communication. So all these capabilities need to be in the network for it to function 100%. And yeah, I mean, with Vaga itself, you don't get visibility, right? Maybe you can implement for 10 devices. Like as you move higher and higher, as a network admin, I need to know who is accessing what in the network. So we built an admin panel where you can add users, create networks, add your devices. Yeah, that's what
All right,
Netmaker does.
great. I was wondering if you could give us a demo of some of these features that you just described and show us what Netmaker actually looks like.
So basically, now say we allow users to create as many networks as possible. Like say you are an MSP, right? And you manage multiple networks. You can have multiple networks, each network assigned to a particular customer. That way it can enables you to do multiple things. So our main motive was to build a flexible product, like right from a home lab user to maybe an enterprise user, right? They can use our product. That was our main goal.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, how the way you add devices is click on add a node, right? And we have keys. Keys are more like you can say like an access key to your network that you need to
Okay.
join a device.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, we have clients for almost all popular OS,
Mm-hmm.
and you can download the client and join the network, and that's it. Now you will be on the VPN network, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to maybe show you a quick demo, right? Like what basically it enables you to do. I would say as a company, I have some internal tools, right? I have my GitLab running or my maybe dev cluster, right? And I need to give access to these resources. And I don't want them to be exposed publicly, right? They're just running on my internal network. And I need
Mm-hmm.
to give access to my developers. So basically I have this setup now. I have my GitLab running and I have my Minikube and this another cluster running on DigitalOcean. I'll say the way I do it is I invite a user to my platform and set his permissions, right? Either he's an admin or just a VPN user. and select which group he belongs to. Now, so say this user Dennis, right? He's in dev access group. Basically, so the way he connects to the VPN is he downloads our client and he connects to the access point. This is the access point that we set up right now. This is the endpoint that is running in Singapore. Now, when he connects to this access point, now he has access to all the internal resources, right? Say, basically, I can access GitLab over the private IP now. So if you see this IP itself, it's just the VPN IP. So I don't even need to know what's the public IP of the instance or anything, right? I just access it over the VPN itself.
Oh.
Now say I need to give access to my cluster, right, to my developers. And obviously they need the kubeconfig file. Now if you see the kubeconfig file itself, I set the server to my internal IP. And this Minikube cluster is running on my VPC, but everything is getting just accessed over the VPN itself. So doing this anytime, you would exactly know who's accessing what in your network, and you could disable the sessions, right? Like you can just change the group. And once you change the group, obviously they won't have access to the network itself. Even kick out users from the network. Yeah. Also, we have sessions where they need to do periodic authentication to verify themselves. Yeah, so each of these enables to do different things on our platform itself.
All right, all right. Interesting. Thanks. That's a really interesting walkthrough. And I was wondering, so there's clearly the main benefit is to be able to access resources despite them being located in different locations across the world. So there's greater access. And then I think the second big one is security during that access is a big benefit. Could you talk a bit more about probably what are some of the other benefits that may not be as obvious, but actually quite crucial and make a big difference for a business in terms of what's possible? Like I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe it brings in more agility in how you can run your business, how you can structure your teams, things like that. Maybe even cost savings. What are some of these other benefits that are not as talked about, but actually quite there when using something like Netmaker?
Got it. I mean, in reality, right? See, in the demo I showed you, I have three different environments. There's there's one cluster running in my cloud provider. There's one cluster running in my VPC, right? And also in my GitLab instance. So these are in different environments. But what I'm doing is I'm bringing all of them together in one single network. So now they're in one single network, you're more focusing on endpoint security rather than the perimeter itself, right? So like as a network admin, that gives me great visibility, and it can be very flexible to implement any network infrastructure in reality. You can follow different patterns as you want. So yeah, I mean, even like in terms of security itself, often companies, like many people neglect it. Often then only when they feel a dent, right? They realize the need for security, and it comes at a cost.
Yeah.
And if you see like in last 5, 6 years, a lot of breaches, especially like, when there's a breach in like financial institutions, the loss is huge. So it's good to have that visibility and know what's happening on network always. And as to scale up, definitely need to have a platform where you can manage and implement security measures, right, across your business.
All right.
And
Yeah.
Netmaker as a platform, it's kind of lets you do that flexibly. and
Mm-hmm.
using the underlying WireGuard protocol with low latency, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. All right. What about things like automation, especially when it's at scale, right? Automation, I think, plays a key role in all of this. Could you touch on a bit of that? What kind of automation is possible with Netmaker, and why does it matter?
Right. So we do, I mean, we currently have customers using like Terraform scripts to,
Mm-hmm.
spin up clients. Yeah, definitely like say when you're deploying into multiple environments, you need automation definitely. So so with Vaga itself, it's very easy. You can put it in, you can use our client, wrap it around Terraform script and deploy it into multiple environments, right? And like more often this environment can be ephemeral as well, depends on the use case. And I would say like even if you're onboarding maybe many users, right? You need to have the visibility to, I mean, say you have an audit group in your company, they need to have access to only maybe a billing, right? They just need to view like what is the network size and what is the usage on a network. But say when you have a developer, they need to give access to a certain resources in the network. So we have like advanced user management where you can segment these users um, into different parts of the network, right? So yeah, kind of enables you to do things at scale.
Right, right. Great. As we wind down, Abhishek, the last question that I have for you is just looking ahead at the next year or so for this space of VPN and Zero Trust, WireGuard, Netmaker itself. What most excites you when you look ahead? What's coming up? What's next? And what do you spend your time reading up about? And what are you most excited about?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's as we move into next year, I mean, people need to understand that VPNs can complement zero trust. It's not like VPN versus zero trust. In many
Okay.
ways, it can complement zero trust, right? They can still coexist. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, as a product, we are trying to engrave all of these principles into the product itself, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and we are moving towards adopting that whole framework, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think in next few weeks where we have our own DNS system coming in, also like advanced firewalls coming in. Yeah, it enables to move into the framework of zero trust. Like that's what we
Mm-hmm.
are aiming for in next couple of months to become a wholesome zero trust product.
Mm-hmm.
Underlying, we use WireGuard as our encryption layer for the data.
All right, all right. Interesting. Blurring the lines between VPN and zero trust,
Yeah,
and really just focusing on the use case and uh, getting things done rather than obsessing over.
definitely. Yeah, we're also mainly focusing on the UX itself, building more customer-centric product because
Mhm.
networking itself is complex and you don't need a complicated product to make it even complicated, right? So we're trying to
Mhm.
build more easy to use product where they can just deploy, connect, and secure the traffic.
All right, all right. Interesting. Yeah, and it's still early days. It's just about 4 years since you started. So yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of development and a lot of
Yeah,
things you build into the product. Wonderful. Do come and share any of the big new updates that come along
yeah,
whenever
definitely.
they launch. Before you go, Abhishek, there's one question I want to ask to get to know you a bit, which I ask all of our guests. What
Okay.
would be your alternate career path if not for your job in tech?
Uh, I was actually I'm still interested in multiple spaces. Like I wanted to have my own D2C brand, like maybe like in food space or like also I'm interested in real estate. Yeah, I mean, often this keeps nagging me that say when you look at like healthy options, right? I mean, it's often expensive. Like I don't understand, and often like unhealthy food is very comes
Mhm.
very less minimal cost, and even healthy options should be affordable for everyone. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's something to work on collectively, definitely. And say when you walk into a supermarket, right? I think the first thing that should come to your mind is picking up maybe an healthy alternative to the junk food, right? Maybe you're
Mm-hmm.
picking up a protein bar or but often they're very expensive than compared to the other food items. So I think
Mm-hmm.
health space itself, I think we need to focus on in coming years. More and more
Mm-hmm.
people need to be educated on it. We need better things on our plate in general
Yeah, absolutely. I
because
think
like healthy human, healthy mind, they go hand in hand, right? Healthy mind, healthy person.
yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's true. It's just a lot of unhealthy options when you walk into. So I've had that dilemma many times, trying to even look
Yeah,
for something healthy, but then giving up because it's hard to find it. There's nothing
yeah.
much available, and the only ones available are really boring and very limited in option. So yeah, yeah, definitely an interesting thought to think about. Great. Thanks so much for joining us again, Abhishek. It was a pleasure chatting with you about what you're building with Netmaker. It looks really cool. And thanks for sharing all about it. We loved hearing about it.
Thank you, Ted. Thanks for having me here. Thanks for the invite.
And to all of our listeners and viewers, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this conversation with Abhishek Kundur from Netmaker. Do check out Netmaker if you find what Abhishek described very interesting and relevant to your business. Go and check out what they do. And do tune in for the next episode. We'll see you on that one. Bye bye.